Welcome everybody, welcome to the stream. My name is Jose. I am a golden in Kendo, and today we're going to be watching some Kendo videos, learning about Kendo and overall how to improve our Kendo. My plan for today, I'm gonna continue with my basics focus that I've done for the past couple of streams. The reason for that is because I know right now there's many places that already are done with events. Maybe you're getting ready for testings and Shiai for next year. So hopefully with this series or with this sessions of basics reinforcements, we can build up a better Kendo and go full force for the next year. Thank you for everybody for passing by. If you know, as Nick mentioned, I have a Discord server that you guys are welcome to join. Let me make sure. Let me see if the bot is actually sending out the link to it. And in this server, you can come and join our community of Kendoka. Yeah, there you go. That's the server right there. And you can, meet new people and ask your questions and everything in there. So how's everybody doing today? Nick, I know you asked if I will be on Discord. Right now, I will be just doing the stream. I actually didn't get to do my stream on Saturday, so I kind of wanted to make up for it. And as well, I want to try out maybe a couple different times for my stream, so maybe to see if this is a good time also for people to catch on, maybe the people that cannot make it on Saturdays because, practice or time differences and so on. Also, I kind of wanted to try out a couple of different things. I actually set up a different camera angle right here. Let me just make sure that yeah. So I know it doesn't look very good. It doesn't look as good as the other one. I need to fix up the lights and stuff. But at least if I have to, show something, I can do it easier that way. So that way you guys can see like whole body and so on. I hope I didn't mess anything up by just pressing all these buttons. Nick, you're chilling between work and meetings. Excited to enter the business Kendo team circuit in Japan shortly. So did you get accepted? You tried out for a team, right? And did you get accepted, or how's that process going? And for everybody, you're here. Just let me know you're here. You can say hello. You can also hit the like button. It really helps the stream. And again, if you would like to become part of the stream or part of the channel membership, you're welcome to join through the link that I just posted in the chat. And this way is a good way to support the channel, but also you get a couple of extra perks. Right now, what I'm doing for everybody that joins is that if you become a member, you can send me a video and we can analyze it and work it together to get situated with your goals and improve your Kendo. So that's just a little thing that I'm doing. And if you have any suggestions, just please let me know. Okay, the video that I have set up for today is going to be the same video that I used for last stream, which is the basics with Takenouchi. I've been trying to find the actual link for the video. It's very hard to find. And I haven't been able to, so what I was thinking is maybe making like a little file and, spread it out that way for the people that are interested. But, copyright and stuff like that, so I'm very hesitant a little bit to do that. I'm still looking for the original video. So if you have a link for the YouTube video for this, please let me know. I know you can probably find this video on DVD and so on. So, Nick, so you're saying that you basically got accepted. Questions which branch dojo you will end up down the road. So, man, congratulations. That's awesome. That'll be a cool experience. Okay, so let me just make myself situated here with the video. So what I wanted to do for today, I wanted to move on. Last stream, I was talking a little bit on Fumikiri and Fumikomi. So now we're gonna see not only how it involves the footwork with the sword, but also how to make it fluid as well. And if you have any questions, just let me know. I want to try out a feature that I discovered from, what's it called? From YouTube. So it's kind of like a Q&A. I'm going to set it up. I'm going to start it up. Let me see. So I don't know what this is going to do. You set up a Q&A. So you're welcome to follow the prompts that are there. And basically, I'm asking, what are your biggest challenges when it comes to practicing your Kihon, your basics? And the reason for that is because I know the Kihons are transferable to so many different things that I just want to make sure that we're doing a good job at training ourselves. So let me just make sure that I ping. Let me see something. Okay. Sorry guys, this feature is kind of new to me, so I'm still figuring out what's going on with all this stuff. Okay, so let me just get it going with this video. Last time, again, we were seeing the effect of going forward and back with your proper footwork with okuriashi. And now, okay, so actually I used this breakdown for the motion of the sword on a video before. This is actually very interesting and something that I personally like to do if it's not during the practice that I'm guiding the practice. I do it on my own before practice starts, and it's understanding or refreshing my body the motions of the cuts or the motions that I'll be doing, whether it's footwork or the swing. And I like to do exactly as he does it here, a little bit of an overextension, because I feel it activates or lets me know the muscles that I'm using. This right here, for example, this is a very good point to do an overextension. And the biggest reason I like this for is because it kind of helps you understand what muscle is the first muscle that you're going to engage to bring the sword down. So when I ask this question at the dojo, as a matter of fact, I'll ask you, what do you think is the first muscle you need to engage in order to bring the sword? What do you think is the first thing you need to do in order to bring the sword down? At this position you see right here, he's fully extended up. Normally when we're doing suburi, we don't go, normally when we're doing Kihon, we normally don't go as big as you're seeing here. But it is good practice to do so because it helps you understand what are you using in order to get a good and strong swing. So when I ask this question at the dojo, many people say the shoulders, right? But the shoulders are actually helping you bring the sword up. Some other people say the tricep, but the tricep, what it does, it helps you extend the hand out. So when you're bringing the sword down, it's a combination of your lats and your core, right? This is the first muscle group or the first muscles that activate when bringing the sword down. So maybe if I can do this. So if I'm here, if my sword is up here, if I use my tricep does this, right? Like it extends my arm. But to bring it down, you have to use strength of your core and these muscles right here to start bringing it down. I don't really engage the triceps too much. I think when you start engaging the tricep, it just becomes kind of like stiff. There is an engagement of the tricep, but it's not one of the main muscles. So after I do my engagement of my lats, throwing my tip forward, throwing my arms and my hands forward, doing the tenouchi and wrist extension is what gives that snap and that strength on the hit, but not bringing it down with my tricep, because I guess the tricep will do this type of motion, right? Where it's kind of like pushy out. And at some point, you also don't want to pull down. My main focus is to throw my hands forward, right? So I use my lats and my core to bring it forward and then squeeze my fingers, like lats, fingers, and wrist, up, to bring the tip forward to get a full extension. So that's my muscle engagement from, I guess, from beginning to end. Discipline, you're saying that shoulders, elbows, and wrists. So shoulders, again, shoulders, the shoulders right here, they help you bring the sore up, not down, right? So again, there's also more muscles involved in this. The back is also engaged and so on. But the shoulders are the ones that help you bring the sore up. But down, you have to actually relax the shoulders. If you tense up the shoulders bring it up, right? Because this muscle's going up. It's one of the biggest points that I like to practice when I do my practices at the dojo, is that you want to get that overextension so you understand how it feels to bring the sore down. If you guys have any questions, just let me know as we go, okay? Nick, you're saying on the topic of footwork, you always warm up with only footwork drills. Lesser talked about floors always change with humidity and temperature. Actually, that is very true. That's another thing that I like to do, and I like to break it down slowly. But getting adjusted to the floor, especially when you haven't been there before, it's also a big thing. So yeah, actually very, very good. In Japan, you actually get to see a lot of changes and differences in the one dojo, right? I guess here in US, normally because all the conditions are kind of stabilized by AC and so on, it becomes, I don't know, very, very like standard, I guess, in every practice. Discipline, you said, and your simplified holy training when you think about from when hitting. Okay, so you're saying from hitting, but again, the shoulders, I don't think the shoulders bring it down, right? Like the shoulders bring it up. This is a big important point as well when bringing it up, because many people, what do they do when they bring the sore up? Hold on. Many people, when they're trying to bring the sore up, they use the bicep, right? To bring the sore here like this. And then they end up just curling their hands in rather than making a good, healthy motion to get a good swing. So here, yeah, you use the shoulders here. But on the way down, you're throwing the arms and you're using other muscles, right? Nicholas, you're saying you try to eliminate all upper body strength. You lift your shinai from your legs. Oh, that's a good point, actually. That's a very good point. Because many people don't take that into consideration, that you have to lift the shinai from your legs. And you gotta get the power for your strikes from your legs. So one of my favorite things to do one of my favorite things to focus on when I'm focusing my suburi is, it's that, maybe if I start here and I do this motion from up here and I'm going to move forward, I'm conscious I'm trying to move first and then bring in the hands, right? But on my regular suburi, I try to move in from the body first and then throw in the arms. I think it's a very big point when it comes to the swing. You don't want to just focus on the arms. You want to actually focus on everything. Guys, if you haven't, please take a second, hit the like button. It really helps the stream to be pushed out to some people. And let me know if this is a good time for you guys to, be here. So maybe I can add it to my schedule for the stream. Right now, I'm making up for my lack of stream on Saturday. Anyways, so again, I made a full video using this, so I'm not gonna talk too much about this. You guys can go check it out. But it's a very interesting breakdown. What I don't like about it is that they cut it up. They cut up the video at the most awkward moments, right? When you're actually looking at the scene. So Nick, so it's a good time for Japan. That's awesome. Yeah, I have a couple friends in Japan that I haven't kept in touch with, so maybe this is a good way to bring that up. Okay, so I made a video on taking kamana, right? And this is something that I like to see from this video. if you break down a little bit of what's happening at this point, right? Um, the feeling of taking kamae, it should feel natural, right? So in this right here, he's walking just like he will be walking on a regular, on a regular day, and then at this point, he comes in to try to have a forward intention. Many people, when they take kamae, they kind of, because we're told kind of just, put your weight on the back leg, don't put all your weight on the front leg and so on. They tend to kind of be leaning back. And this is a good example to put in order to have your momentum forward to be ready to attack against your opponent. Right? And notice how both feet, the heel, it's off the ground. So obviously the back leg is going to be higher, but both heels are off the ground. This is very important as well. So for some reason, I think the video is stopped here. What's going on here? Okay. They're doing like a slow motion here. So hold on. Sorry. What's going on here? So yeah, I think this is a very good example of kamae in the sense of it's light. It's not focusing on having everything on the upper body, right? Also, the point of having the right foot not being planted is very important. You want to have this intention forward, this desire for your body to keep going in. I believe Takenouchi was like Yondan when he did this video, by the way. Yes, Nick. That imagine that you're sliding a piece of paper under your right foot. Some senses they explain it a little bit different, but the concept is the same. Another thing that I like to do myself, not only at the dojo but also at home, and like in pretty much any chance I get, even throughout the day, is practicing my forward and backward footwork. Right? Maybe sometimes we don't have the space because of the ceiling, or we don't have the time or whatever to do suburi, but you should always try to get to practice your footwork. And it's so important to be able to move without any adjustment. So there's a couple of things that when you're practicing footwork, you should keep in mind, whether you're doing suburi or just forward and backwards, is that every time you take a step to any direction, you want to make sure that you are set up to go forward or backwards, right or left, once you get to that step. So once you take that step. So for example, if you're going forward and you know that the next step is going to be backwards, don't get into the habit of going forward and then not really setting up to take another step forward, but instead, because you know you're going backwards, you're already kind of with that feeling that you're gonna go back. So if you look at his motion right here, his kamae here, he still has, even though he just took a step backwards, he still has that forward intention, but he went backwards, right? So it's not like he went back and leaned back. And on the next step, he's gonna go forward. You see, he's not leaning back. So what I'm saying is that take a step to one direction and be ready to move any way you need to, even though you know that you're only gonna move backwards, for example. Hope that makes sense. Okay, there's actually one quick point I want to just point out from this, just this right here. Hold on. Hold on, give me a second. Okay, I'm going to say this. When you are in Kamae and you're moving forward, when you're in Kamae and you're moving forward, your back leg is providing the support and energy to move, right? Then the Fumikomi comes in and it's a little bit of a transition to keep your momentum forward, to keep your body going forward. But pay attention what's happening here with the back foot. The back foot is providing that support and pushing the body the whole time, all the way until it leaves the ground. Right? So until that moment right there, that foot has been pushing forward, creating energy to move you forward. What does this do? The biggest problem that I see, hold on. The biggest problem that I see people have is that when they move forward, they tend to let go of the support from the left leg, from the back leg, and they drop their body, so then the right leg has to bring the body up. Okay? The right way to do it is that your left leg provides the energy and the support to keep you here, and then the right leg is going to pull you forward. It's not going to bring you up. So if you see, if I do it like this, I let go of the tension here, the support here, I have to use my right leg to bring me up. This causes you to drag your leg. What you want to do is you want to have the support at all times from the left, and then at the moment that the right leg comes in, push, pull. So I'm pushing, pulling, right? And this way your body will stay straight as it advances, and also will have the right support. And if you need to explode, if you need to add more power, you can do so. But if you let go of that tension from the left leg, then you're gonna have to re-engage the leg, and then it's gonna take longer and it's not gonna be as strong. And on top of that, you're forcing your right leg to now be the support, and tends to be a little bit harder. So one thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you have both legs working on bringing you forward and keeping your stability. Don't just make one leg, don't just let one leg take off the load so the other one takes it, and so on. You want to make sure that both legs are working together at the same time to bring you forward with power and stability. Let me catch up with some of these comments. So Nicholas, you're saying kind of to the right foot topic, his waist on the right foot is still positioned near the front of his foot, right behind the toe. Correct. So again, and that's a very good point to clarify as well, for people to understand that you have to put weight on the right foot as well. It's not that there's no weight, because then your body's still behind. You want to have your body and your weight with intention to go forward, but you don't want to be planted. So that's why the whole thing with the heel. You don't want to bring down the heel and so on. Discipline, you're talking to Nick. So yes, Murakami is very good at doing that, and that's one of the things that I always recommend people to do. Something I practice myself is when I watch Shiai videos and so on. At some point, I try to kind of like cover the top half of the body so I can see how the body moves, or how the feet work in order to come forward and to create openings. So this is very important skill to pick up for yourself. So yeah, study footwork, guys. That's That's my biggest takeaway from this. Now, I don't know if I posted this already. I was making a short about this, but when you're going backwards, it's a good way to understand how to do your fumikiri, that extra push. Oh, this is actually a very good point as well. When you're going forward and backwards, your kamae should stay strong. You should learn how to move around, keeping your kamae strong. So your center may be compromised at some point when somebody's approaching you, right? And or when you approach somebody. So this is something that you want to do, maybe with a mirror. You can do it even with a with a small shinai. This is something that you can practice at home, and something that you really need to do in order to develop your kendo to the next level. You need to be able to move professionally with a strong kamae and be ready at every time, at any time. So in this point, it's very important because you want to have relaxation on your upper body, as Nick said. You want to have flexibility, but at the same time, you kind of have to have that strength and sturdiness with your kamae in order to influence your opponent. Nicholas, and not just in Shiai, but when waiting to have Jigeko with the sensei, etc., you always pick up one thing to focus on and watch. You have ADHD, so one focus point is important for me. Let me tell you, for me, it's extremely important, especially during practice, that I try, and I also have so much more improvement when I focus on one thing to build up my kendo. Because if you start focusing one thing, then another, like you don't really give enough time for your brain to process what's happening. So yeah, I agree with that, 100%. So I wanted to maybe break down a little bit of this movement right here. So moving forward. So again, pushing with the left leg all the way until the right leg comes in, and his height is trying to stay as stable as possible, right? He's not dipping in. And if you notice, again, he's not depending on his front leg to bring the body back up to level, but instead he's using the left leg, the back leg, to push in to have that stability and presence. Another thing, the next time that you do your practice with, whether it's at home or at the dojo, there's something that I've been seeing a couple of my students do at the dojo. And it's when they're practicing their footwork, they get so focused on their footwork, they start tensing up and getting awkward position in the upper body. It is very important. Maybe at the beginning you can only do maybe your footwork, and then you bring up the hands. But when you bring up the hands, make sure your shoulders are back and down, so you have a square position on your body. The one thing that you don't want to do, you don't want to bring your shoulders in, like I have a black shirt, so it's kind of hard to see it, but like having your shoulders in like this. And most of the time, what ends up happening is that you see like my shoulders, I kind of worked hard on my posture, so my shoulders are kind of square this way, right? But before, my shoulders used to be kind of like, it looked like this, right? Like my shoulders were like down like this. So this is something you want to fix. You want to bring up your shoulders back and down rather than have them forward, right? Because this is most people's posture. You want to bring it down and back, so that way you have a good open posture. You can have a good mobility in your hands. If you squeeze here, not such good mobility. Anyways. I think the sideward movements are very important when it comes to understanding your stability as well, especially if you're used to just going forward and backwards. Changing your position is a good practice as well. I'm going to be honest, this is not something that I do often during my practices, especially big like this. Normally I try to make it when I'm doing my pre-practice practice, let's just call it that. I'm kind of like in the mirror, just imagining that I'm in front of my opponent. My opponent is moving in different positions, so I try to adjust and be ready every time that I move, right? Same thing with this exercise. This is something that I don't do quite often, but it's a great tool for you to work your stability and your ability to shift your weight, your agility, in other words, I guess. Okay, I do want to start moving up a little bit, get a little bit more of the dynamic parts of footwork. So, okay. Nick, you're saying that this is done on every Suburi package warm up. Yeah, and I know it's very common. It's something that I normally don't do. Maybe I should do more, especially I should have the dojo do more of this. Okay, there's a couple of things that I want to bring up when it comes to fumikomi, striking, and follow through, right? At this point, I'm not even gonna call it sanshin. I'm just gonna call it follow through. And the biggest points when it comes to this, let's study a little bit about how the motion goes. Let me go back a little bit. Oh, I went back too far. Okay, from this position, let me go frame by frame. Okay, he's taking one step. Normally when we do our practice or Kihon practice, we do that first step for seme, then we engage into a technique, right? Once you get into this position is when you should start your motions. You shouldn't lift your sword before you get into this position. So it is very common, especially for kirikaeshi. I'll show you. People tend to do this. And then they go, right? So you want to avoid this. And another thing that I noticed on myself and some old videos that I watch for myself, and sometimes it comes up as a bad habit, is that first step, you want to take it with support on your back leg, right? Many people tend to take such a big step at first that it kind of becomes this. You want to avoid that as well. Okay. Now, from this position, after he took that first initial step to close the distance, he's engaging first the left leg. If you see from here, I guess, okay, he's lifting the hands first. Okay. That's, let me break it down for a second. Hold on, I don't want to go back too much. And I went back too much. Okay, so from here, this is another version of as well, right? You can do this a couple different ways. You can do this by lifting your hands first and then going in for the technique. This is like the most basic level. So it's actually pretty cool that he's done it like this. Once you start advancing or once you start getting more stability in your body, you want to start engaging your legs first, or maybe engage your sword and your legs at the same time. And I guess the ultimate level becomes when you can actually start throwing your body in before you start your swing. And I'm talking about big waza here. When you do small waza, you have to throw your body in before you move your hands. This is, this is standard. But once you're doing big waza, you want to get to the point where you can have stability moving your body without having the hands, and then kind of while you're midair, you start moving the hands. Andrew, thank you for subscribing. If you're here in the stream, thank you very much. Appreciate it. So once you're in this position and you start, this is something so hard to do, especially for the beginner level. This is something that maybe as we grow up in our kendo, we take for granted, but it's a skill that is very, very difficult to acquire at first. And it's to throw the body and kind of like be on midair and then bring the hands up and down, right? So this is a good way to start the motion, to start doing it, is to have your body bring the hands in first, throw your body and engage your hands and your fumikomi at the same time. So now we're gonna see a different point here. You see, he is lifting his hands, but also he's starting to create momentum a little bit with the upper body. Okay, this is fine. What I wanna make sure that you understand is not good to overthrow your upper body. You don't want to do that either. So from here, he is pushing with the back leg and he brings down the sword to land with the fumikomi. Now, for the follow through, it's very important that you are fluid. So many times people say, oh, he's crossing his legs or he's bringing his back leg forward. It can look like this, right? But let me see if we can see it a little bit more steps. Okay, right here is gonna happen. Look what's happening. He's doing the fumikomi, but by the time that the back leg gets to the position where the front leg is, this leg's already kind of wanting to leave the floor, right? So it's not like he's crossing the legs, it's that the right leg is pulling him in and the left leg kind of ends up landing about the same space where the front leg was. It's kind of confusing to explain it like this, but understand that you don't want to cross your feet. He's not purposely bringing the left leg or the back leg to the point where they're going to be parallel. He is pulling himself forward with the front leg, and that's what's causing the back leg to kind of shoot forward as well. He's also using Hikitsuke, bringing the back leg in, but the energy that he's using by pulling his body with the front leg, kind of what gives that feeling that the back leg is kind of catching up with the front leg. Hope that makes sense, because that's very confusing. This is different than landing with the front leg and bringing the back leg in. This is going to be interesting watching it here. So let's watch it. Let's watch one more time in this way. So I think I'm gonna have better angle. I'm gonna do it frame by frame. So look what happens. When he does the fumikomi, his back leg is going to come in much more, his back leg is gonna come in much faster because his front leg is pulling with a lot of energy. For the following steps, it's not gonna come as much because he's not using as much energy. So if you see here, when he pulls with the front leg, the back leg pretty much lands where the front leg was, right? It actually is landing even far forward, right? But if you look at it, his legs are not crossing. That's the biggest difference. Right here, his legs are not crossing. He's pulling himself forward and the back leg is landing at the position where the other leg was, but he's not crossing the legs. And when he gets here where he's not using that much energy, his leg is still coming in pretty close, but again, he's not crossing the legs. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that many times when people are focusing on doing proper footwork, they tend to be kind of, what's the word? They tend to be a little bit clumsy or robotic as they do because they're trying to keep the back leg behind the front leg. So yes, you are not supposed to cross the legs, but what's happening here is because of momentum, by the energy created by the pull from the front leg, is making the back leg land further than what it should have if you were just standing still. So maybe if you're analyzing these videos and you're trying to become better and you see this, you might think, oh, it's okay to cross the legs. His back leg is landing further than his front leg. Okay, this could happen, but it's because of the reason I just explained. I really hope that makes sense, because this is something that it could create a lot of confusion. But if you get this right, you're gonna get so much more fluidity than if you were to purposely try to keep your back leg behind your right leg, because people tend to kind of like just kind of get stuck on the ground as they do this. So if you see here, he's very, very fluid, very light on his footwork, very purposeful on his movement. Very good. Okay, let me just see this here real quick. Okay. When it goes back to the full body, you're gonna see something very interesting. Okay, so from this body shot, it's gonna be easier to see that. And as he pushes forward, okay, he lands with the Fumikomi, a lot of energy is being built by the right foot. So right here, you see that his back leg is kind of catching up with the front one. But look at kind of like where the knees are, right? The left leg is slightly behind it, and the right leg immediately wants to push forward, so it can do its job again of bringing it forward. So you see, the legs are not crossing. If you see right here, the legs are not crossing. The left leg is staying behind. And as he slows down, it's more evident that one leg is behind the other one. This is very important. I cannot stress how important this is. So, yoga booty is one of the biggest. Okay, for me, yoga booty can be confusing for some people, and the reason for that is because you want to do these exercises with the purpose of improving your cuts. You don't want to do this just to do the motions. You don't want to do. Okay. Watch this real quick. Hold on. Okay. So when people do yoga booty, they kind of treat it as a warm up, and they just kind of like stretching up and down and so on. I think this is wrong. You want to make sure that this is done purposely, and it's being used as a way to improve your kendo and develop your kendo. So biggest mistake that I see people do when they do yoga booty is that they put one hand on top of the other like this, right? And then completely disengaging this arm, right? So it becomes this, where they just kind of like do the motion, mindlessly. You want to bring up and again use both hands above your head. If you want to bring the sword back, okay. If you're going to do it like this, do it both, but don't do one up and then one down, right? You want to avoid this feeling. You want to have both work together. So when you do yoga booty, for example, if you do an overextension here, it's okay to bring it back, but don't tense one and relax the other. So rather than, because then immediately when this one stands, they bend the elbow to bring the sword forward. You don't want this. You want to have a full extension when you do these cuts. So if you watch Takenouchi here, he's going to bring his hands down together with an extension, right? He's getting a full extension on his swing. He's not pulling the sword back into his body. This is probably one of the parts of Kendo that bores many people, right? And it's a suburi. And you want to make sure that you are purposeful on your suburi. You don't want to just do it again as a warm up. It's not just a basic physical exercise. You want to do your suburi with the intention of improving your cuts. So, in order to do this, you want to be mindful of your tenouchi, your kiken taichi, and understanding the body movements. So one more. So, if I could say a couple things when it comes to suburi, is that as you do your suburi, your left hand, and you probably heard this from your sensei before, is the one creating the power, right? The right one follows the shinai. Look at that, right? He's not pulling with the right hand, he's following the shinai. But at this point, the right hand becomes a little bit of a support, and it also becomes a little bit of a control for the shinai, because it catches the shinai at the end. Right? When you do your suburi, your right hand catches the shinai, and the left hand creates the power supported by the right hand. You do not push down with the right arm. It goes there. It just stays there. Like, again, this is something that maybe I can just do a full video about it. Shen, welcome to the stream. Thank you for passing by. You're saying the journey is what is enjoyable. The goal is there so that we can have the journey. That's pretty wise words, man. Thank you. One of the biggest problems that I see with suburi ends up being people putting too much force, not only with suburi, also with kihon. They put too much force because they feel that their strike is not strong enough, it's not quick enough, and a lot of the times maybe it's not the end result, but it's more of the biomechanics of the movements that are failing you. So you have to understand, you have to break down what is happening here and what's the correct way of doing it, so that way you can understand how to get a good path for your sword and also to get good control, speed, and power. So once you have those elements down, you can create a good suburi. It starts, as Nick said earlier, starts with your legs. Everything that you have seen so far in the stream, everything that we have talked about, builds up to a good, strong strike. You want to have good support from your legs. You want to use your core and your lats to bring the shinai down. And then you want to use your wrist and your fingers to create speed and also control for your sword. But also the positioning of your hands is very important. So my main points when it comes to remembering where my hands should be, my right arm should be in front of me, away from me, parallel from the floor, and my left arm in front of my solar plexus. This way I get full extension. I try to focus on throwing the tip forward. As a matter of fact, for me, I like to bring my tip slightly lower than he has it. But it's okay. Everybody, has a little bit of difference in their body. Are you guys getting sound? Oh, hold on. I don't think we're getting sound from the video. Okay. Hold on, we weren't getting sound there. We haven't even started talking about ki. That's another one. That's another big point. But let me just go back a little bit here. So, let's see if we can break down. Let's see if we can break down what muscles are being used as we do this. Wait, sorry. I want to do... Wait. Okay, let's go. So we talked about here using the left hand, the left arm to start bringing the sword up, using the shoulders to bring the sword all the way up. Then at this point, he is engaging, you see, as he's going forward, he's engaging the legs, he's engaging the core. At this point where he's gonna bring the sword down, he's gonna start using the lats and his core to bring the sword down. At this point, he also uses the fingers and the wrist to get a good extension. He makes sure that the left leg comes in and locks itself to the point where he can take another step if he needs to forward. And the right hand parallel to the floor, fully extended, the left hand fully extended as well, throwing the tip forward away from his body. There's a little point on the tip that is something that I would say experiment a little bit with this, but when you're at the moment of the strike, it almost feels that the left hand it's pulling and the right hand it's kind of like you're trying to separate the shinai. You're trying to like rip it apart like this, right? Where the right hand stays firm on this position and the left hand does a little bit of a pull this way with your tenouchi. It is for the fraction of a second though. Like it happens so quick. Something you don't want to stay there and like create that extra tension. But I don't know, that's how it feels to me. So maybe something that you can explore and see how that works for you. And I will be curious to know how does that work for you. So discipline, you said, did the announcer say shoulders, elbows, and wrist? So again, the shoulders are used to bring the hands up, right? So when you're using, you have to use that as well. When you're bringing the sword up, you bring the shoulders, you use the shoulders, you don't bend your elbows, right? You use your wrist, right? And what else do you say? Your elbows. You don't bend your elbows though, right? You don't go like that, like this, but you do have flexibility on the elbows. Meaning, but you don't bend your elbows, you don't use your biceps to bring it up, right? From kamae, your hands come up. Your hands come up in here. You don't go like this, obviously. When you're coming down, the first thing that comes down is your shoulders. But it's not because of your shoulder muscles. Like this is maybe the part where we're getting confused here. You don't use your shoulder muscles to bring the sword down, right? So, I mean, there could be some type of engagement with your shoulders, yeah, but the main focus is not to throw in with your shoulders. You have to use your core, you have to use your lats. Let's go. Oh, sorry, not this one. So, at this point, this is a good angle as well. Hold on. So, right here, the shoulders are the first thing that comes down, right? But the movement of the arm comes from your body. It should come from, as a matter of fact, as Nick said earlier, comes from your legs, builds up your core, your lats, and it brings down from your whole body. Not just your shoulders, but the shoulders are the first thing that start dropping down. That's correct. And The motion, it almost feels like a whip, in a sense of it comes from like um like soft and hard, right? Like it comes like from coiled to extended. This is also very, very important as well.
体を引きつけると体に勢いが出ます。そして顎先まで切る気持ちで打ち込みますが、剣線が立たないように注意しましょう。
Luis, thank you for passing by. Really hope you get something from this, and you hope to test for another rank soon. Which rank are you going for? And yes, I'm doing well. Hope you're doing well as well. Now, this is going to be the last point that I'm going to talk about today, and this is something that I feel sometimes there's a little bit of confusion, and the first shot is the perfect shot to express what I'm talking about. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Let me just go back forward a little bit. When you're doing Sajumen, where do you stop the tip of your sword? Where does it stop? Where does the tip stop? Let me stop it here before the swing happens. But yeah, so when you're doing Sajumen, when you're cutting right, left, where does the tip stop? And where should your hands be at the moment of the impact? So I see many times people make the mistake that when they're doing Sajumen, let me just take this off, and when people are doing Sajumen, they overswing, right? And maybe they bring the hands out of the center. That's one thing. Or either they don't get enough reach forward, or they go too far out instead of getting the proper position of the cut. So if you look at, if you look at the end position of the Sajumen, it ends, the tip ends at the same position that your men should end up as. It ends at the same position where your men should end up at. So the tip ends up pretty much right on your chin, right? Doesn't go through, doesn't cut out away from the center, and the hands stay in the center. I think this skill, to learn this skill, is very important also to transfer it into Do, right? Because pretty much we do similar motion for this. Now, said before, where should your hands end for this to happen? So the biggest mistake sometimes people make is that when they're cutting this way, they pull too much on the side and they don't get a good reach, right? They pull too much on the side, they don't get good reach. They should be at the center, up, right here, right? The right hand deviates slightly. The other side, people tend to have more problems because they do this. They go and they cross the hands. Also, this is not good. You want to end up in the center as well. And I guess like for the camera, should go here, right? You want to end up in the center. Now, people say, oh, but you have to move the hands out of the center in order to get this cut. So there has to be a little bit of flexibility, yes. The center line for me is not as thin as a piece of thread, for example. For me, it's as wide as my hand. So when I do Sajumen, I stay in the center within this width, right? I don't go away. And I feel that this is extremely important, especially when you're progressing into your Do as well. Many people, when they do Do, what happens? They cross the hands this way. This is not good, right? The angle of the sword is going to be too short. You want to have more extension to cut the Do. And on top of that, most likely you're gonna end up hitting the front of the Do. You want to hit with a good distance and then cut through, right? So it's very important that you also understand how to cut in the angles without switching or without leaving your center. So that's why I think Kirikaishi is also very, very important drill to do in order to improve all your different angle cuts. So, hope that makes sense. Hope that was useful and something that you will keep in mind
手の返しを意識して
for
正しい
practice.
刃筋で相手の左右面を打ちますが、正面打ちの時と同じように相手をそう
Now, I do have to mention that something that you want to be mindful of when you're doing suburi, it's finishing your cuts. If you see this, he is finishing each cut. He's not bouncing into the next cut, even though he's doing them continuously. Always be mindful of finishing your cuts. Don't be bouncy. Get a good cut. This will help you understand your practice with your tenouchi, full extension, and it will give you a little bit of time to check your posture, to check yourself before your next cut. Always keep this in mind. And be mindful to relax at the end of the cut. Don't keep that tension in. Discipline, you said wrist control for Sajumen should be like turning a doorknob with your right hand, but vertically. So I think that when you start explaining like this, it starts getting confusing. I like to keep it as simple as possible. And I try to make sure that I just let people know, have your palms away from your body. Don't twist them. If you have your palm away, you can have your cut. Maybe this camera will be better. If you have your palm, for every cut, you want to make sure that your palm is away from your body, right? If you have your palms to the side, this ends up happening, right? Well, actually, I guess you couldn't do it this way, but when you have your palm to the side, then you don't really have a good support towards the opponent. So what I do for my Sajumen to angle my cut is that I just turn like this. So I can see what you're saying. Now that I'm doing it like this, I can understand what you're saying, like turning the knob, but vertically. But for me, I just try to tell people, keep your palm away from your body, whichever cut you're doing, whichever angle you're doing, right? Especially for those crazy angles that you want to do, like rising cuts like this, right? If you have your palm on the side of the shinai, it's going to take away the power. So you want to always have your palm on top of the shinai, and you want to make sure that it follows the path of the cut. Don't go sideways. Don't get on the side of the shinai. Quick little Kendo tip, I guess. Augusto, welcome. Thank you for passing by. Always appreciate it. I'm trying to experiment a little bit with the times for the stream, and also because I didn't stream on Saturday, I wanted to kind of catch up, see how that goes. If you haven't, guys, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel, the stream also get pushed out to more people. Okay, I'll appreciate it. Okay, let me go back to this. Alicia, it works for your time zone. Awesome, cool. I'm gonna see if I can make this a little bit more consistent. So appreciate it. Appreciate the feedback. If you haven't, guys, you can always pass by the Discord server. Again, it's free. You can always join up and meet new Kendo people. And if you have any questions that you need to let me know, you can always find me there. And that's a good that's a good way to keep in touch. Okay, so let me finish up with the Sajumen.
想定して打ちましょう。
Another point for Sajumen is that you want to raise your hands. This is a very good point when it comes to angle cuts. When you're doing all your angle cuts, especially when you're practicing maybe Kirikaeshi Sajumen. Sorry. Especially when you're practicing Kirikaeshi or Sajumen, you want to make sure that your upswing is not circular. You want to come up as you would do for any cut and then come down in the angle that you want. Of course, there's going to be some exceptions, and there's going to be some times where there's a little bit of, bending the rules, let's just say that. But overall, you want to focus on having a straight upswing. So if you see here, he comes up straight, and from this point, he goes into the cut.
打ち込むように竹刀を右上から斜めに振り下ろします。
Very cool angle.
次は右面です。 同じように頭上で手を返して相手の右面に打ち込むように竹刀を
You see,
左
he
上から
comes in,
斜めに振り下ろします。
he brings the hands up
軸となる
straight.
左拳が中心から
The sword was on an angle. He brings his hands up straight. The sword was on an angle, but the hands are coming up straight in the middle.
外れないようにしましょう。
So pretty much what I'm saying is don't go out like this. Don't do your cuts. Try to do this. So right here, my left hand is leaving the center to do my cut, right? You want to come in, up, and again, on the center, up, up, up. Does that make sense? Hope that makes sense. Anyways, do you guys have any questions? You can let me know. And if you would like to contact me, you can always go to the Discord server. Send me your questions there. We have a big server there. A lot of topics. If you want to learn about Yola and Nito, there's people that do that. There's several people with different ranks in there. You can always come in and ask your questions. That being said, guys, I didn't prepare too much for today because, again, I was catching up with Saturday, and also I wanted to try out some of the other things. I wanted to try out a little bit of this camera angle right here. And, you know, I know there's a couple of things that I want to do. I also want to check to see if the sound and my mouth sync up with that camera. So that's something that I still need to go out and do. So I'm going to cut off the stream at this point. If you have any questions, you have a little bit of time to ask them. Again, if you haven't, please hit the like button. Also, share this with somebody. Share this channel with somebody you want their channel to improve. Alicia, no, okay, I can answer. I think it's better to answer questions here because I guess you can see me. I can do the motions. So let me see. How do you practice seme outside of the dojo? So this is something that I am heavily practicing right now, and the biggest thing that I'm trying to do practicing seme is a little bit tricky because when you think about seme and what the function of seme is, you need to have a partner to practice, right? So when I'm outside of the dojo, how do I practice seme, or what are the things that I'm trying to do to help me improve my seme? So some of the things that I personally practice on is body awareness. What am I doing before I move? How am I moving? How efficient my motions are? And then how is it that I can move in two different ways? One, it's how can I move to create a feeling on my opponent? And then two, how can I move without my opponent realizing that I'm moving, right? So there's two different goals and there's two different purposes of this, but mainly you want to understand how to move your body. I guess in a short answer, you want to understand how to move your body. So lately what I've been trying to do is get a kamae that I can move from without any extra motion. So for me to move forward from here should feel very natural, right? Very natural. Now my kamae, again, I have my forward intention, but if I have to move backwards, again, I don't have to do any adjustment. I don't have to move my body at all. Then what I'm doing lately is trying to understand, okay, what happens if I move my upper body first? Do I feel like I lose balance? So maybe I can do a little bit of the upper body, a little bit of the lower body. Maybe I have to fix my leg to go. Try to understand how to move. Trying to understand how I move, it's my goal, and try to polish this. So again, then when I go to the dojo, I try to see how my motions, what kind of movements I can do to cause a reaction from my opponent. I think short steps are underrated. So you want to practice short steps more than longer steps, I think. I'm not even gonna say more, but you wanna practice your short steps. This is crucial. What else? Then also you want to understand your sword work, right? Like you want to your Shinai Sabaki, right? Like you want to understand how to move your hands, how to keep your upper body relaxed, when should you tense them up to kind of create the tension. So understanding how to move your body, it's, I think, goal number one in order to start understanding semi. If you don't mind me asking, what rank are you? And I can maybe give a little bit more rank specific advice. So Alicia, you said we're about to go on holiday over Christmas and you have been practicing inside the dojo, but you want to practice outside as well. So main things that I do for practice outside the dojo, of course, I do running. Just try to keep myself, moving. Especially I know we're gonna have breaks. I try to not have breaks in my practice, but sometimes we have to have it. Also, I do a little bit of weight training, but the main thing is my posture work. I watch a lot of videos. I do try to replicate what I like and try to find what's useful and what's not. So right now I've been watching a lot of videos from like Hachidan senseis and so on to try to understand how do they apply semi, especially Hachidans against Rokudan or something like this, right? Because they have so much more control over them, and try to see how they manage that. This is kind of one of my favorite videos to watch right now. And understand how to move the sword, how to do all of this stuff. This is one of my biggest focus outside of the dojo. Then when I come inside the dojo, I try to keep one thing in mind and just shoot it, just try it, just do it. Don't be afraid to get hit. So Shen, you're saying here's what you do to practice semi at the shopping mall. You walk straight forward and another person walking at you and try to read to see if he's going to go left or right. So that's actually a very good point. You also want to, and this is the part when it comes to practicing, when you need somebody else to practice, right? You also want to understand body movement from your opponent. So maybe if you have somebody that does kendo, but you don't have the access to the dojo, maybe you can stand on kamae with each other and trying to figure out what is it. Oh, maybe I should do it with a little shinai. So another thing you can do to practice your semi, especially when you have somebody you can do this with, is that you want to understand what happens when you do this. What does the person do? Does the person go back, or does the person doesn't realize you moved? I think Shen, I mentioned this to you. Sometimes when we try something, maybe we try too fast, that the opponent doesn't register that anything happened. So maybe we feel that, oh, my semi is useless. But then ends up that it's not that it's useless, that maybe I did it too fast that my opponent couldn't catch it, so maybe I need to slow it down, and so on. Hope that gives you this semi practice semi. Maybe I should do a full stream. I probably should do a full stream on that. So what you do is you wait to make. Okay, so this is another thing, another point, silly point maybe, but if you're saying that you wait for that person to make the decision to then make your decision, then you're being reactive, right? Ideally, you would like to make them go one way and then you can take the opportunity. But again, you couldn't. That would be weird to do at the mall. Lisha, you're saying your second Q and you have a left calf ankle injury. Okay, be careful with that always. If you had some type of rehab therapy and so on, even after you feel fine, keep doing them. As a matter of fact, I'm going to make a video about this thing. This is what I use for my tennis elbow. And, my tennis elbow is much better than it was last year, but I still use this because sometimes it does hurt. I do need to have a lot of stretching and so on. But this will become, instead of curative care, it's going to be preventative care. So don't stop those physical therapy exercises. The other thing is that at your level, you need to understand what it looks like when there's an opportunity. So you cannot be afraid of being hit. Go, attack, and understand that the attack doesn't happen just when you decide to go for the technique. When you're in practice, especially at low ranks, you want to try to find out what it looks like when there's an opening. And for that, you have to mess up. So when you attack, first of all, just go. You have to just go. Then once you start understanding that you have the confidence to just go, you start seeing, okay, my attack doesn't start when I decide on a technique. My attack starts when I decide to start approaching my opponent. So you gotta pay attention. Okay, I approach my opponent. What does that look like when you were successful, and what did it look like when you were not successful? So then you can start getting a little bit more understanding. What can you do to create that opening or to create that situation when you're going to be successful to come in? And then this is how you start leveling up. Don't worry about this. Don't stress too much about this, because listen, I've been doing this for years and still don't get it fully. So as a matter of fact, I will say I still don't get it. I'm still working on it. So practice on being confident and coming in, but then be attentive on what happens when you're coming in. So that way then you can level up to what can I do to make that opening for me to go and be safe. It's a process. Yeah, that's something. It takes some time. Don't worry about it. Discipline, you say in practice seme and kama in a mirror. Yes. It worked for Ega Sensei in his documentary. Yes. This is something that, I was mentioning early on in the stream, that you want to, I do a little bit of a practice, right? Before I start the practice, I like to be in front of the mirror, just try to see how my body looks and what motions I have when I'm gonna move, right? Which of those are purposeful, which ones are not, and try to be ready, and so on. So that helps a lot too. Alicia, you have a Hachidan visiting on February, and you have 4 Rokudan, so hopefully you can analyze that live. So that is amazing, great opportunity. If you don't mind me asking, what country are you in? That is pretty cool that you're gonna have a Hachidan visiting. A great opportunity. It's interesting. The first time I actually went to a seminar, I understood that there were a lot of things that I couldn't understand, right? Like they were going right above my head. And this is something that you want to kind of prepare yourself, that there's going to be things that you are going to go over your head, but try to have a goal in mind and try to have something that you want to study and bring that into that day of the seminar and try to absorb as much as you can from this point. It's very, very, very helpful. Alicia, so you're from Australia, and Furukawa Sensei is going, oh my God. So I hope you get to see some nights Suki, because he has some of the best ones. And I'm sure you're going to see a lot of people doing Kakarigeko, if maybe they won't make you do Kakarigeko. So anyways, guys, if there's any questions out there, let me know. If not, I'm gonna cut off the stream now. I'm gonna say, remember, you can become a member of the stream. And hold on, a link should be coming up for that. But let me see, where is it? Anyways, in the chat box or somewhere in your screen should have an option to become a member of the stream. If you do so, you get a couple of extra perks. But right now what I'm doing is you can send me some videos of yourself and we can analyze them and break them down and help you improve your Kendo and just overall for us to learn to grow our Kendo. That being said, guys, thank you very much for everybody that passed by. If you haven't, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel. And let your friends know. Share this with somebody you want their Kendo to improve, okay? Thank you very much, guys. I hope you have a good rest of your evening, day, whatever time of the day is for you. And again, if you need to contact me, if you need to ask questions, let me know through the Discord server. I'm always there. I will always answer your question, okay? Thank you very much, guys. Have a good rest of your day.